The Meridian's hull screamed as it tore through the alien atmosphere, plasma fire from the Corvan raiders having crippled its shields. Sergeant Alec Rains fought the dying controls, his hands steady despite the chaos erupting around him. Warning lights painted the cockpit crimson as the ship plummeted toward the uncharted world below. "Come on, you piece of..." The impact cut off his curse as the ship carved a burning furrow through dense jungle canopy before finally grinding to a halt against a massive tree trunk. Alec's head throbbed as he pulled himself from the wreckage. His combat armor was cracked along the chest plate, the power cells drained, and his distress beacon sparked uselessly. The jungle pressed in around him, alien but strangely beautiful, with towering trees that seemed to pulse with an inner light. For 3 hours he trekked through the undergrowth, following what seemed like a game trail. Then he heard voices, melodic, unlike anything in human space. He pushed through a curtain of luminescent vines and froze. 6 figures stood in a clearing, tall and graceful, with pale purple skin that seemed to shimmer in the dappled light. They were unmistakably female, with elegant limbs and faces that were both alien and hauntingly beautiful. Bioluminescent markings traced delicate patterns along their arms and necks, pulsing gently like living tattoos. Their hair was dark and curly, framing large golden eyes that now fixed on him with startling intensity. The nearest, a woman with healing herbs in her hands and gentler markings, stepped forward with cautious grace. Behind her, another with more angular features and warriors bearing kept her hand near what looked like a weapon. Kethmar Nala, the healer spoke, her voice like wind chimes. Before Alec could respond, they surrounded him, golden eyes wide with wonder. Delicate hands reached out to touch his face, trace the outline of his jaw, examine his voice module with scientific curiosity. Their touch was electric, sending unexpected shivers through him. When they gestured toward his damaged armor, he hesitated. But curious hands were already pulling at the cracked chest plate, their movements urgent yet careful. The metal gave way with a sharp crack, and suddenly he was standing before them, the first male they had ever seen. The purple-skinned women stepped back, their bioluminescent markings flaring brighter. The healer, who he would later know as Kira, looked at him with something between reverence and scientific fascination. The warrior, Vex, circled him slowly, her golden eyes drinking in every detail. In that moment, Alec realized his life had just changed forever. The settlement nestled in a natural valley, its organic architecture flowing seamlessly with the landscape. Bioluminescent panels provided soft light as Kira led Alec to a healing chamber, her movements graceful and purposeful. Through gestures and careful mimicry, she began teaching him basic words of their language. "Kira," she said, touching her chest, then pointed to him questioningly. "Alec," he replied, and watched her golden eyes brighten with understanding. As she tended to his wounds, her fingers traced the scars on his chest with clinical fascination. Her touch was different from any human woman's, slightly cooler, but with an energy that seemed to resonate through his skin. When she pressed her palm against his heart, feeling its rhythm, something electric passed between them. "Velvar," she whispered, and though he didn't understand the word, her tone suggested wonder. Vex appeared in the doorway, her warriors bearing softened by curiosity. She approached with measured steps, her bioluminescent markings pulsing in patterns that seemed to indicate emotion. When she spoke to Kira, their exchange was rapid and intense. Through broken communication, Alec learned fragments of their history. The plague, Morthak, had swept through their world 3 centuries ago, targeting male genetic markers with devastating precision. The survivors had rebuilt their civilization through advanced genetic manipulation, creating new generations from stored material and careful breeding programs. But something had been lost, the balance, the partnership, the very essence of what made their species complete. Males had become legend, stories told to younglings about the time before the silence. Kira's healing touch grew bolder as she mapped his anatomy, her scientific mind fascinated by the differences. When her fingers accidentally brushed sensitive areas, both their markings flared, hers in soft blues, his skin tingling in response. Vex watched with growing intensity, her warrior's instincts warring with something deeper. When she finally approached, her touch was firmer, more possessive. She traced the muscles of his shoulders, testing his strength with approving nods. "Kethmar Nala Veldar," she said to Kira, her voice carrying weight. Kira's response was gentle but firm. They were discussing him, Alec realized, but not as an object, as a person whose presence had awakened something long dormant in their society. As night fell, both women remained close, their bioluminescent markings creating a soft constellation in the darkness. Alec found himself drawn to both, Kira's gentle wisdom and Vex's fierce protectiveness. Something profound was beginning, something that would change all their lives forever. Days blended into nights as Alec's language skills improved and the barriers between them dissolved. Kira taught him about their culture through daily walks in the bio-gardens, her explanations peppered with gentle touches that lingered longer than necessary. Vex showed him their defensive systems, her admiration for his tactical knowledge evident in the way her markings brightened whenever he suggested improvements. The first intimate moment came during a healing session. Kira's hands moved across his chest, ostensibly checking his recovery, but her touch had grown more personal, more exploratory. When she leaned closer, her breath warm against his skin, Alec felt the electric current between them intensify. "Kira," he whispered, catching her hand. She looked up, her golden eyes reflecting starlight. "Veldar Nethka," she asked softly, "are you willing?" His answer came in the form of gentle fingers tracing the luminescent patterns on her throat. She shivered, her markings flaring bright blue, and suddenly they were kissing, soft, tentative, then with growing passion. Her skin was silk and lightning, her responses unlike anything he'd experienced. Later, as they lay entwined, Kira traced lazy patterns on his chest. "Nethka Morthak Veldar," she whispered, "before the plague, there were males." Vex's approach was different, direct, challenging. She cornered him during combat training, her warrior's instincts translating into something more primal. When she pressed him against the training wall, her body strong and demanding, Alec felt his breath catch. "Vextharanala," she growled against his neck, "I want you." Her kiss was fire and possession, her hands claiming him with fierce certainty. Where Kira was gentle exploration, Vex was passionate conquest. She marked him with her touch, her bioluminescent patterns blazing red gold as she pressed against him, showing him what it meant to be desired by a warrior. Their cultural exchanges revealed fascinating customs. In their society, bonding was communal, partners were chosen by compatibility and contribution to the community. The concept of exclusive pairing was foreign, replaced by webs of connection and mutual support. Both women began teaching him their bonding rituals, the gentle ceremonies that celebrated new connections. As understanding grew, so did the intimacy between all three. Alec found himself falling for both women in different ways, drawn to Kira's nurturing wisdom and Vex's fierce strength. But with growing closeness came growing concern. Other settlements existed, some led by elders who viewed the old ways with suspicion. The return of males was a controversial topic, one that could divide their carefully rebuilt society. The attack came at dawn. Elder Zentha's faction arrived with military precision, their bioarmor gleaming in the morning light. Alec woke to the sound of energy weapons charging and Vex's urgent voice calling for him to hide. "Morthak Nethka. Kethmar Veldar." Zentha's voice carried across the settlement, "The plague returns. Males bring death." Kira and Vex flanked Alec protectively as the elder approached, her ancient features twisted with disgust. Her faction believed males had caused the original catastrophe through genetic instability, and Alec's presence threatened their careful balance. "Nethka Veldar Morthak Kes." Zenth demanded, "The male must die." Vex's weapon was in her hand instantly, her warrior's training taking over. "Kirathesh Nala protect," she snarled, "we will protect him." The confrontation erupted into chaos. Alec found himself swept along as Kira and Vex fought their way toward the jungle, their combined skills creating a corridor of escape. Energy blasts seared the air around them as they plunged into the dense undergrowth. For hours they ran, pausing only when absolutely necessary. Finally, they reached a hidden cave system that Vex knew from her patrol routes. As they caught their breath, the magnitude of what had happened sank in. Kira. Vex. Alex struggled with the words. Why protect me? Kira's response was soft but firm. Veldar neth ka lovethesh. Because we love you. Vex nodded, her fierce expression softening. Neth ka future Veldar. You are our future. Their refuge was interrupted by the rumble of seismic activity. The planet's unstable core was shifting, threatening to collapse the valley where both settlements lay. Alex's engineering knowledge immediately recognized the danger. Danger, he shouted, pointing toward the settlement. People die. Without hesitation, all three raced back toward the valley. Alex's technical expertise, combined with Kira's knowledge of biosystems and Vex's tactical coordination, allowed them to organize an evacuation that saved hundreds of lives. As they worked together, even Zentha's faction began to see Alec not as a threat, but as a valuable member of their community. His quick thinking and selfless action spoke louder than ancient prejudices. Just as the crisis passed, Alec's damaged communicator crackled to life. A human rescue ship had detected his emergency beacon and was approaching the planet. Standing between his old life and his new one, Alec faced an impossible choice. Return to the familiar world of military duty, or stay and help rebuild a dying species alongside the two women he had come to love. The rescue ship's lights cut through the dawn sky as Alec stood with Kira and Vex on the settlement's highest platform. Captain Torres's voice crackled through the comm, offering extraction and a return to normal life. Nethka choose Veldar, Kira said softly, her bioluminescent markings dim with sadness. You must choose. Alec looked at the two women who had become his world. Kira's gentle wisdom had taught him about compassion and healing. Vex's fierce protectiveness had shown him what it meant to truly fight for something worthwhile. Both had given him love unlike anything he'd known. Choice made, he said in their language, then keyed his communicator. Torres, this is Reigns. I'm staying planetside. Mark me as Kia and move on. Sir, that's not. That's an order, Captain. Reigns out. The relief in both women's expressions was radiant. Their markings flared brilliant gold as they embraced him, and for the first time since the crash, Alec felt truly at home. Elder Zenth approached with measured steps, her ancient features showing grudging respect. Veldar Nethka honor Thesh, she said, the male shows honor. The bonding ceremony took place under the twin moons, with both settlements participating. Alec learned that their culture celebrated multi-partner bonds as natural and strengthening. As he exchanged vows with both Kira and Vex, their combined bioluminescent patterns created a constellation of light that blessed their union. Months later, their settlement thrived. Alec's human knowledge, combined with their biotechnology, had created innovations that improved life across the planet. Communication networks connected distant settlements, sharing resources and knowledge. Most importantly, genetic compatibility tests showed promise. While natural reproduction remained complex, the possibility of a new generation, one that combined the best of both species, offered hope for the future. Alec stood in their expanded home, watching Kira tend to their biogarden while Vex trained the settlement's defenders. Both women carried the subtle glow that indicated early pregnancy, a miracle of science and love that would herald a new chapter for their species. As the sun set over their world, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, Alec reflected on the crash that had brought him here. He'd lost his old life but gained something infinitely more valuable, a future, a family, and a chance to help rebuild a civilization. The stars emerged overhead, no longer representing the cold void of space but infinite possibilities for the world they were building together. In the distance, other settlements were already requesting human consultants, and Alec knew that his story was just the beginning of a larger transformation that would reshape both their species. Love, he had learned, was the most powerful force in the universe, capable of bridging any gap, healing any wound, and creating hope where none had existed before.